Honorable Minister of External Affairs, Professor J.L. Piris, Honorable Members of Parliament, Leader of Janata Party, Honorable Dr. Subramanian Swamy, Professor Rajiv Jayasinghe, Honorable Secretary of Defence and Urban Development, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and Honorable Secretary for the Resettlement Ministry, Mr. Divaratne, all Excellencies who are present here, all past commanders, Chief of Defence Staff, Commander of the Army, Commander of the Navy and the Air Force, all senior officers who are present here, and Inspector General of Police, distinguished guests, all visitors to this forum from from all countries, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my privilege and pleasure to be here today to discuss certain aspects of reconstruction in the Jaffna Peninsula, and most prominently the effort of the government taken so far after the humanitarian operation to take Sri Lanka forward in that spirit of reconstruction and resettlement. And before I am getting into the crux of the reconstruction, I would like to take your minds back to the real issue, just put everyone in the perspective, the LTTE issue. Sri Lanka had been under the colonial rule since 1505, and the political leaders of Sri Lanka, Sinhala, Tamil and Muslim communities fought together to win independence in 1948. However, with the introduction of constitutional changes in 1956, Tamils who had remained benefited through the previous colonial government's governing system became disheartened. They were no longer ready to accept the changes made to the constitution that marked a significant shift in both governance and administration. With the advancement of time, a radical segment of the Tamil community, motivated by some extremist political parties with egoistic motives, embarked on a drive demanding a disproportionately greater share in governance and administration in the country. Those differences gradually led to the development of tension between two major communities. However, their reasonable demands were considered and granted by successive governments. And notwithstanding all efforts taken by the respective governments that came into power to integrate all communities under the unitary state, a section of misled Tamils continued to whip up separate sentiments, which ultimately turned to be an armed struggle against the government of Sri Lanka, where they went on fighting to secure 1/3 of the land mass for just 14% of the population. Other than the few isolated incidents that took place, Jaffna by and large remained peaceful until 1983, during which civilian life prospered with sound economy based on agriculture, trade and fishery. Jaffna being the island's one epicenter of education, with several privileged government and private schools like in Colombo, continued to produce scholars and intellectuals to the nation until peace was threatened by those anti-government activists. Killing of 13 soldiers in Jaffna in 1983 marked the beginning of a new culture of violence. The cowardly act of terrorism was the first ever incident of violence against the state military forces by Tamil militants since independence. This particular incident provoked the faction of Sinhalese in the south. As a result, a series of unfortunate incidents took place across the country. Alienated Tamils fled the island, seeking asylum abroad. Relations between north and south became perturbed and constrained. Meanwhile, Tamil Tigers, a separatist movement fueled by certain foreign powers, Tamil diaspora and some NGOs and INGOs gained momentum until it grew up to be strong enough to capture and hold sizable land in the northern and eastern part of the country. During the LTT control of the northern part of the country, transportation between north and south came to a standstill, and in 1985, the blow-on of Yaldevi train, it became a real hallmark of the entire terrorist activities. Since part of the main supply route too came under LTT control, civilian movements were crippled. The government had to provide transport for civilians mostly by air and sea. Successive governments made every possible effort to solve the conflict politically by negotiating with LTT bilaterally and at times even with mediation of third party or a facilitator. However, all such efforts were proved to be futile. The LTT, for reasons best known to them, demanded a ceasefire prior to all those peace talks which were complied with all successive governments. But the LTT abused the opportunities offered and instead strengthened their fighting power until they became a formidable guerrilla force. However, the government forces continued to hold few military bases in the Jaffna Peninsula. Having failed to achieve a negotiated political solution to the problem, the government was finally compelled to launch a military operation to liberate Jaffna in 1995 with a view to restoring law and order. Since then, the life in Jaffna Peninsula remained peaceful except a few occasional and isolated incidents that occurred. The peninsula since then had remained under government administration. Due to its strategic and geopolitical significance, an adequate military force was deployed to defend the liberated territory. The 30 years long separatist war came to a successful end in May 2009 with the defeat of LTT terrorists. Unwavering leadership of His Excellency the President and unified effort of all forces well coordinated by the determined Defense Secretary with the support of entire peace-loving population of the country opened the door to a newer and most unfamiliar peaceful environment. Post-conflict responsibilities of the soldier appear to be more complex and complicated than before. I invite you to watch this video film.
பயங்கரவாதம் இப்போது இல்லை.
Overnight transformation of the image of the soldier from fighter to protector was thought to be necessary but crucial. Projection of the soldier as the ultimate guardians in the minds of Jaffna population was considered to be a foundation stone for confidence building. It was not an easy task to transform and assign the new responsibility of the social reconstruction and nation building for those who were trained as skilled soldiers. Mindset of the soldiers who fought a war for 3 decades had to be transformed to identify mere basic needs of Jaffna population and help them improve their quality of life. Changing the role of the warrior to the protector helped our soldier to win hearts and minds of Tamil community. Making a leap forward in civil affairs, Secret Force Headquarters Jaffna opened a Civil Affairs and Public Relations Office in Jaffna town in 9th March 2010, and this office is open for civilians for 24 hours. The new office earned the trust of civilians with a short span of time and became famous as Public Relations Office, where people could meet army officers to seek relief for their grievances. As the new concept took root, army was seen as their caretakers. Guard points were converted to be 8 points, weapon emplacements and detachments were transformed into civic officers, citizen committees were redesignated as development committees, and with all that, a comprehensive and sustainable plan was designed and executed for social reintegration and nation building. Army played a pivotal role in multi-pronged approach to achieve sustainable peace in the aftermath of the war. With a view to further fostering interaction between the Army and the civil communities, Security Force Headquarters opened a website, cimicjaffna.lk, through which effective communication was made quickly as possible. An incumbent Army Commander, Lieutenant General Jagat Jayasuriya, commissioned the new website, which on the other hand helped Army deny misinformation disseminated by the interested elements, both here and abroad, while presenting the ground reality. Jaffna society, comprised of population over 500,000 people of diverse religious, social, ethnic and cultural backgrounds, too were needed to be transformed to accept the change. People who were hopeless and helpless needed to be encouraged to a newer lifestyle. Masses who were misled and misguided were needed to be reoriented. Segments that were waiting to welcome the creation of a separate state were needed to be motivated to respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the state. Younger generation that grew up in the lawless environment was needed to be disciplined in the name of social harmony. Ex-LTT combatants and sympathizers who suffered the humiliation of defeat were needed to be rehabilitated, encouraged and reintegrated into the mainstream as productive citizens. Understanding the ground reality, fathoming the burning needs of different segments of the society, identifying and respecting the existing social hierarchy with a proper understanding of socio-cultural structure and address need of the majority were identified as the crucial factors that were essential for success of the CIMIC programs. Resources necessary for community support projects were found as prompt allocation from the government sources, contribution of officers and soldiers, donation from well-wishers and at times through personal contacts with friends. Identified critical needs of the society were timely attended by the Army. Such needs were separately dealt with care under centrally controlled mechanism, maintaining very high tempo and with precise consistency. No sooner peace was ushered to the country, His Excellency the President appointed a Presidential Task Force with President Advisor and the Honorable Minister Mr. Basil Rajapaksa at the head to implement an accelerated development program called Vadakin Vasantam, and this project allocated more than 70,000 million rupees for Jaffna alone to enhance its infrastructure facilities. People in Jaffna within a short span of time realized that Army as a friend of theirs rather than a foe, facilitating the government's reconstruction effort, and independent housing construction program for most needy was commenced. Other than physical reconstruction, troop had to pacify people and reorient mindset of Jaffna people who lived in agony under influence of terrorists for years. This was made possible because soldiers forged good relations with civilian population through various CIMIC programs. Although some different social fractions try to discourage the general public getting on well with the Army, friendly behavior of the soldier, however, overcame those concerted efforts. Army, having noticed the dire necessity for permanent shelter to the destitute, especially for those who were languished at welfare centers as internal displaced personnel, initiated a housing program in Jaffna, which so far has constructed nearly 1,775 houses for people of Jaffna. Financial assistance was sought from officers and soldiers and their personal contacts to obtain building materials. Soldiers, in addition, contributed to the construction of work and their loan labor. And this is the distribution of number of houses built by the Army for our people in Jaffna. Army was convinced of the need to enhance infrastructure facilities for education in Jaffna, which earlier produced leaders and intellectuals to the country. A scholarship program was launched to help the poor students. Many South-based philanthropists as well as from Jaffna itself joined hand with the Army to prosper the future of children of poor families. A separate page under the title Foster Parent was published in the CIMIC website, inviting donors to come forward and assist them. A few foreigners, after surfing the website during their visit to the island, inquired about those children and offered scholarships. It is sad to note that segment of diaspora, Tamils, the response was not very encouraging. At the same time, students who secured higher aggregate at provincial and national level examinations were accorded warm welcome and felicitations at the Civil Affairs Office. Number of school buildings were constructed by the military with the financial assistance and contribution of the philanthropists. Best examples are Telipale Mahajana College and Navala School, Kopai. Children who had never stepped out of Jaffna Peninsula were taken by the army on sightseeing and educational tours to Colombo, Kandy, Nuvareli and Anuradhapura areas. A large number of students, teachers and parents of many Jaffna schools were taken to temple trees to experience the warm welcome extended by His Excellency the President and staff at his official residence. Opportunity was provided for hundreds of Jaffna students to see the grandeur of the Atikirla 2012 exhibition held in Anuradhapura, which portrayed the national development. Security Force Headquarters Jaffna instructed all division headquarters to follow the Hindu calendar regularly and to plan civic activities accordingly. This was a catalyst to further narrow down the gap between the army and the Hindu population. All Hindu festivals of the well-known Hindu temples were ably supported by the army. On every Thaipongal day that falls in January, army organizes a function at the Elephant Pass, the gateway to Jaffna, where Pongal rice is cooked and served to many thousands passers-by. Deepavali and Single Hindu New Year festivals are annually organized by the army in Jaffna. Above all, with sheer intention of preserving the Jaffna culture, Security Force Headquarters Jaffna has arranged a special project to educate visitors with unique features of Jaffna culture. An instructional leaflet is distributed for visitors entering through the Elephant Pass to follow during their stay in Jaffna. This educative program is widely admired by both locals and foreigners. With the end of the war, a series of measures were taken by troops to renovate Hindu temples and Christian churches, facilitating spiritual development of the people. These meritorious acts were well received by the people and they came forward to support these programs. Army ample support is always extended to all religious festivals, medical assistance, water supply and security and meals for devotees pouring during the annual festival of the famous Nallur temple is a case in point. Depicting the similarities of Buddhism and Hinduism and promoting the religious harmony, a mega Vasak zone is organized in Jaffna city center during the Vesak week. Christmas carols annually organized by the army at the Church of Our Lady of Refuge in Jaffna is another crowd puller, was regularly attended by and highly appreciated by the Most Reverend Father Dr. Thomas Saundranayagam, the Bishop of Jaffna and the clergy by themselves.
When we faced many difficulties, loss of life, loss of property, and displacement, and undescribable suffering. Now we are very happy that the war is over, that we can resume our normal life and proceed with our progress. We are very grateful to the military, the army, and the security forces having made this possible.
Before the resettlement of civilians in the Vadamarachi area, army assisted government health authorities to renovate rural hospitals and dispensaries in the area. Organizing medical camps for people in remote areas has become a routine in the army calendar of events in Jaffna. During such medical camps, army found 3 heart patients, a 21-year-old Kajindrani, a 3-year-old boy Santosh, and 3-year-old girl Apisha, who needed immediate medical intervention to save their lives. They were airlifted to Colombo and admitted to Asiri Heart Center, where they underwent heart surgeries. The to mention about this Apisha girl, her father was LTT active member until he surrendered to the army at Nandikadal final battle. And we are building a house for this family as well. Asiri Heart Center has agreed to perform 2 heart surgeries free of charge for Jaffna's people per month at the request of Security Force Headquarters Jaffna. 9 surgical beds and 29 medical beds were handed over to Regional Health Director Jaffna on October 2010, and this donation was sponsored by a friend from Australia. This was in addition to many other donations made by the Army to health sector very regularly. In the month of January 2010, Jaffna topped the list of death due to dengue. Army jumped into action and launched anti-dengue campaigns to clean mosquito breeding locations. Awareness programs were simultaneously organized to educate civilians, and finally, the Army succeeded in bringing the dengue-affected mortality rate down to 5th place by May the same year. Need of innocent civilians who turned differently able due to war or other ailments were also compassionately looked by the Army. Soldiers sought assistance of donor agencies and arranged donation from artificial limbs to such civilians. Blood requirement of Jaffna Hospital is continuously provided by the Army at the request of the hospital authorities. Due to prevailing caste differences in Jaffna, many people do not donate blood to others, but the blood of soldiers save many lives in Jaffna. Army, having realized the support needed to enhance the quality of sports, initiated many programs to develop sports activities such as cricket, rugby football, taekwondo, and athletics in the peninsula. Distribution of sports gear among the clubs and schools too by the Army is a common occurrence in the peninsula. The major effort of the Army to demine all agricultural lands paid huge dividends to families in the north, which enhanced the income of farmers in many folds. Also, prompt lifting of fishing restrictions by the government facilitated fishermen to enhance their income, and fish harvest was tremendously increased. The special emphasis was focused on creation of job opportunities to ex-combatants, since sound economy would solve their problems. The Army initiated a crab fattening program and growing of aloe vera for cosmetic industry. And the Army launched a special livelihood project for Jaffna poor people to get their economy boosted. In the process of reconstruction and resettlement, Army has taken Jaffna a long way to achieve sustainable peace. CIMIC activities implemented so far with unfailing support of Jaffna people have brought Jaffna to the doorstep of its former glory. Government departments, government development plans assisted by military in Jaffna would continue until Jaffna reaches its desired goal in the future. I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen.